just the expansion of the number of folks who are buying on our platform has actually really significantly changed in the last couple of years. And so I think that a lot of it is just a downstream impact that, one, we no longer have the stigma of kind of buying secondhand or buying used or pre-owned and things like that. So that is definitely gone away. The second thing is certainly inflation, right? Which is, as things have gotten more expensive, again, whether it's through tariffs or other things, that's just made this a much more value-based play, right?
Online resale and B2B e-commerce have both been hot topics these past few years because they've both been growing so rapidly. B2B auction site Overstock, which trades in excess and liquidation inventory, has quietly been chugging away at both for almost 2 decades now. So we snagged the company's CEO, Marcus Shen, while he was at the NRF Big Show to find out not only what the company is up to lately, but also to hear how the B2B resale space is evolving with all the new traction we're seeing on the consumer side of the resale equation. Welcome back to Retail Remix. I'm your host, Nicole Silberstein, Editor-in-Chief at Retail Touchpoints, and I am here today at NRF with Marcus Shen, CEO of Overstock. Marcus, thanks for taking some time out from the show to sit down with us.
Thanks for having us.
So Overstock is such an interesting company to me because I feel like you're right at the center right now of 2 really big kind of growing areas of e-commerce, resale and B2B. And you've been at both games for longer than most. So just to start off, tell our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with Overstock a little bit about the company and what you do, how long you've been around, that kind of thing.
Sure. So at the heart of it, Overstock is a tech platform that helps organizations control and optimize the way that they sell this type of inventory. So we're talking about returns or excess inventory, overstock, things along those lines. We've been at this game for 16 years now.
Yeah.
It really started from kind of the small beginnings of kind of seeing this big problem around inventory that wasn't getting valued correctly, right? And so the founder was an ex-eBay person and obviously kind of knew and understood kind of the way that software can kind of optimize and price things correctly. And so built a simple auction platform to kind of allow folks to sell stuff and buy stuff at a fair price, right? At a fair market price.
But the folks, like, who are the suppliers in your equation and who are the buyers in your equation?
Yeah, so seller customers on our platform are brands and retailers. So you can imagine, kind of the largest 9 of the top 10 NRF folks are here. Mm-hmm. And so those are customers. And then on the other side of the platform, the buyers are small businesses. So entrepreneurs who are looking to source inventory that they can resell to consumers like you and me.
Okay. And I mean, so we fall into the resale category. A lot of what we talk about lately in resale has more to do with like secondhand goods. That is not the bulk of the kinds of products that you're selling, though. This is overstock. This is maybe returns, but it's not necessarily been like used extensively by another human. Is that right?
Right. It's a little bit different where returns, obviously customer returns, again, consumer-friendly policies are kind of making it easier and easier for us to buy stuff online and things like that. And so being able to kind of make that inventory kind of have a second chance at kind of resale is actually tantamount to kind of the way that these businesses operate.
So then the people who are buying from your platform and then eventually reselling it to the end consumer, is it more of like kind of a TJ Maxx style off-price presentation as opposed to like a secondhand pre-loved?
Yeah, it's much more the former, right?
Okay.
So again, a lot of these buyers have their own discount stores, whether they're brick and mortars or they're selling online, right, through third-party marketplaces, the Amazons, the Poshmarks, the eBays of the world. Or they may have their own online store themselves, right? And kind of enabling this stuff to be accessed to consumers like, again, just anyone like you and me.
So it's been a little while. I checked. The last time I touched base with you was 2021. So it's been a while. I also noticed you got promoted in that time. So when we last spoke, you were COO. Now you're a CEO. So congratulations, very belatedly. Tell me a little bit about what you've been up to the last 4 years. The world has really shifted. I mean, you talk about starting from the beginnings of a former eBay founder and an auction site. Things are really different now, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think most people would tell you the CEO generally doesn't do anything. So like my job has gotten a lot easier here.
Who should we have on the podcast instead then? Well, we got the wrong guy.
The team is really doing all the heavy lifting. I'd say we as a company, where we've really been the last few years has been investing in a lot of parts of the technology and the platform, right? To make it easier and easier for sellers to sell as well as buyers to buy, right? And so that goes from, expanding outside of just the marketplace solution. Now we have more discrete and private ways for sellers to sell their inventory. They can sell at, frankly, whatever the speed and velocity that they want to. So now we've tried to give sellers, most importantly, far more control over the way that they're selling this inventory. So it's not...
Hold on.
Yep.
I feel like it gets really confusing in this equation, what we're talking about when we say sellers. So these are the people who are trying to offload in this context, they're people selling to you their excess or their returns.
So we don't buy any inventory. So we are just the technology in the middle. A retailer like a Target or something along those lines, they're a seller on our platform, right?
Okay.
They're using our technology to sell inventory to the ultimate buyers.
Okay, so in your world, sellers are the people bringing in the supply.
Yep.
The buyers are the people who buy it, but then eventually turn around into another marketplace and become the sellers.
Exactly.
Okay, so I just wanted to level set that.
No, that's great. A lot of times
you hear sellers and you do think of all the sellers selling on like Amazon and all the marketplaces.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And so like a lot of times we talk about it is sellers actually sell the inventory the first time, and then resellers are kind of, right?
Okay, I like that. That's a good distinction. We're going to use that the rest of this one. Okay, so I cut you off.
Nope.
So you're working on more discreet ways for your sellers to get rid of this merchandise as opposed to putting it onto the open public B-Stock marketplace.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And as you can imagine, brands, even retailers, they want the control. They want to protect their brands, right? They don't want this stuff ending up in the wrong places. And so the need for them to be much more discreet and controlled over kind of the way or where and how it gets sold is critical.
Yeah.
So that was probably the big aha moment for us in the last couple of years, is that one, we wanted to be able to give kind of, particularly brands, as you can imagine, they are really concerned about where this stuff is going. And so giving them the control is really, really important. And then the second part is kind of with a lot of the larger retailers, being able to sell at velocity or throughput is critically important to them as well. So the idea of selling maybe a pallet at a time is not fast enough for a Walmart or a Target or Costco, right? They need to sell stuff at, get stuff out in 24 hours. And so being able to sell things more quickly and in larger quantities, like truckloads, is actually has been very, very, impactful for their businesses.
Are most of the latter half of that, so the things that need to get moved quickly, does most of that still happen on the marketplace?
It depends. Again, a lot of that stuff is done kind of, let's call it off the marketplace, where we have, let's call it, a smaller group of buyers who are really tuned to that type of truckload like buying. And so that has kind of created almost another like small market or mini market for kind of like larger, higher throughput inventory.
Yeah. I mean, returns and excess inventory is really kind of like a perpetual thorn in the side of retailers. They just can't seem to excise it. Are you seeing any of the advances recently in e-commerce and just like technology in general help both in your own offering, but like more broadly even, and how retailers might be finally able to tackle this issue?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, there's probably a couple things. Again, from our perspective, what we see most directly is the volatility. Like, so as you know, like the inventory can vary very significantly month to month, day to day, week to week, whether that's category, mix, condition, and things along those lines. And so that volatility, it's very hard to manage that if you don't have technology involved, right?
Yeah.
And so again, a perfect example is when you see significant surplus of a particular SKU in a particular day or month or whatever it might be, like the idea of like getting on the phone and calling a jobber to do that is absolutely impossible.
Calling who?
Calling a broker to buy this stuff,
okay.
right? And so again, that's what I think what we see all the time is a lot of these big sellers, big retailers or brands, they're doing this manually. Right? They're literally calling a couple of guys who with a truck and back it up and exchange money. And so it's completely offline for the most part. And so it's really in the last couple of years where I think brands and retailers are starting to kind of realize that technology is going to play a big role in how they manage this effectively.
It's so interesting too, because as you mentioned earlier, e-commerce has added a lot to the returns problem, but it's also created companies like Bstock, which are helping to resolve it. So there's that constant push and pull in our world. I think we're also all feeling a lot of that with AI, where it looks like there's a lot of new opportunity that's available. A lot of big new questions and fears, though. Also, are you how are you tackling or approaching that whole subject?
So for us, AI has been actually hugely valuable in general, simplifying all of this stuff. Again, as we were dealing in a very manual world in dealing with kind of this type of inventory. So you can imagine from sellers' perspective, when they tell us like, here's what we want to sell, a lot of that data is very messy, right? And so AI can be super helpful in kind of normalizing and standardizing the data. So makes it really easy for them to kind of provide us information about what they want to sell, and we can kind of enrich it and enhance it. From a transaction data too, now we're actually taking this data and creating a lot more insights from it, so we can now predict what that pallet of sweaters is going to sell for in 30 days or 60 days. And so now they can kind of understand and predict and kind of manage some of the volatility that we're talking about here. Like you can imagine a CFO, they want to know like, okay, is this inventory going to sell for 10 cents or 15 cents or 25 cents. And so they can kind of have that into their models and from a projections and financial performance perspective.
Do you help the resellers then also use that as they're looking at how to price it when they go to resell it? Yeah,
absolutely. So you can imagine from a reseller perspective, where they get a ton of value is one, obviously we have made improvements to making it easier for them to discover the stuff that is most relevant to them. But also, like you said, the data in helping them understand, where can I make the most profit on this stuff? Where can I make the most opportunity?
Yeah.
That is
and what's that sweet spot, that pricing sweet spot of like, it's going to be appealing, but I'm still going to make money.
Right. So I think what we've seen, generally speaking, resellers are looking to make about 50% gross margin on this inventory, right? So it's a great trade for them, right?
Seriously.
They buy something.
I'm in the wrong job.
Right? They buy something for $10 and they're going to sell it for, whatever, $20, right? And so they're always kind of trying to optimize what they're trying to buy and sell. And again, make sure that they can turn it fast enough so they can keep doing it.
Yeah. So as with many other areas of retail, it sounds like AI is making it easier to do it smarter, faster. Yeah?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
It's interesting. I haven't heard a lot of tariff talk here at the show. Everybody seems really focused on AI, but tariffs did absolutely just wreak havoc on inventory pipelines last year. How do you see that play out at your end? Did you notice you weren't getting as much coming through your platform, or was there more because things were just so out of whack?
Yeah. So from a supply perspective on the inventory side, we actually didn't see a ton of change from the tariffs. We certainly know that it created some volatility for brands and retailers, right? And again, the ups and downs of kind of trying to figure out exactly what they were going to have to pay or what they could pass on to the consumer or not, I think created definitely a lot of uncertainty for them. What we did see was some shifts within categories and mix. So for example, apparel. We saw some changes in kind of the mix of apparel, especially stuff that came from overseas. So some of that inventory, we saw some dips in kind of that, but it was offset by other categories as well. So we didn't see a ton. Again, I think that the sellers or the retailers, they certainly felt it from a volatility
but it's not like
perspective.
you got like a massive influx because things were just like the predictions were off, or you had like not enough coming in. Nothing like that.
We didn't see any material changes like that.
Okay,
So
interesting.
I think as with everything of this tariff stuff, it seems like it kind of was like created a tremendous amount of noise for a short period of time. And now people aren't even talking about it.
I don't think it's over, though. It's going to be back in the headlines again.
Yes,
so.
I'm sure.
I don't think we're done with tariffs yet, unfortunately.
If there's anything probably easy to predict, it's like there will be more headlines about it.
Yes. We're 100% backing that prediction, folks. Okay. The other thing that was really fascinating to me last year is it felt like resale reached a real tipping point. I mean, the first time that I talked to you was because people were just starting to talk about this. And this is more on the consumer side of the equation. So a little bit outside of what you do, but with the rise of like platforms like Poshmark, ThredUp. And so primarily, again, apparel, starting to really take off with consumers. Last year, it felt like there was a real tipping point. It felt like the consumer had, or a majority of consumers at least, were really turning to these platforms, really willing to think about buying secondhand, not just apparel, across different categories. I just heard this morning on NPR a report on a toy reselling marketplace. It felt like there was something that shifted last year where this is maybe going to become something really mainstream. How is that playing out? Are you seeing it at all or feeling that at all in what you do, which is a little bit more behind the scenes?
Yeah. So we definitely are seeing it in the reseller side of things, right? So we see just the expansion of the number of folks who are buying on our platform has actually really significantly changed in the last couple of years.
Okay.
And so I think that a lot of it is just a downstream impact that, one, we no longer have the stigma of kind of buying secondhand or buying used or pre-owned and things like that. So that is definitely gone away. The second thing is certainly inflation, right? Which is, as things have gotten more expensive, again, whether it's through tariffs or other things, that's just made this a much more value-based play, right? Like to get the same high-quality good that has just been used before still gives them the utility that you're looking for anyways.
Yeah. And I personally hope, though, that maybe some of the economics and the political stuff happening right now is driving people toward resale and making it a favorable moment. My hope is once people discover it, they won't want to go back, even when things settle down.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. And what I do think that there's, at least from what I see in the kids, there's a little bit almost of pride in kind of thrifting, right?
It's a cool thing to do now, right?
And so people are kind of almost bragging about the fact that I got a great deal at a thrift store, at a discount store, and things like that.
I know. I'm very annoyed because my thrift store is now overrun by teenagers and they get all the good stuff. They're up there early. They don't have anything else in life to worry about and they snag all that good stuff.
Right.
I'm hoping that fades just for my own self-interest.
Right.
Okay. Before we let you go, I have a few more quick kind of lighter questions for you, rapid fire section. You ready for those?
Yep.
Okay, this is one I love to ask anybody who works in tech, but what is one activity that you prefer to do in an analog format?
I do like listening to the radio. I kind of enjoy,
Does that count as analog? I guess it does.
Like my kids are obviously on the Spotify and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, I kind of like the serendipity of the radio and kind of see what you get, right?
Oh, for music, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I force my kids to listen. And I also think sometimes you should have to listen to the ads.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, kids, this is how it used to be. Right. And you're going to feel it too.
Right. It kind of breaks up the experience, right? So
yeah, or also you also have to learn that nothing is really free.
Right.
It's a good lesson.
That would be great. If you figure out a way to teach that to my kids, that'd be great. So.
I know, because everything is on demand and everything feels free.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
What's the craziest product or set of products that you've seen come through the Bstock platform?
Yeah. So obviously a lot of what we see is the stuff that didn't exactly work, right? From a retailing perspective. Yeah. And so without kind of going into too much, but some of our favorites are, we did see a pallet of twerking Santas this past Christmas.
How big were they? Were they full size twerking Santas?
I think that they were almost full size kind of Santas. And I mean, I can see a small market for that, but I'm not sure that somebody was thought that one all the way through.
Overly
maybe zealous
in love with her.
One.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So that was a good one. We've seen all kinds of products. We've seen food, like we saw 47,000 pints of ice cream one time through truckloads. And so we've seen a lot of interesting things.
Do you have cold chain as part of, were you able to actually
we did.
preserve and move that?
We moved it. Yeah, we moved it. And someone got a great deal on ice cream. So it was
I hope
awesome.
they had a big freezer.
I think somebody had to have a big freezer. So.
I mean, you never know, though. Something like a twerking Santa could be one of those weird, there was a big run on those massive, 50-foot tall Santas this year, which I find atrocious. I couldn't believe it, but they were in huge demand.
Huge demand.
So it does kind of point out how hard this job is. The product design, merchandising, a lot of it is gambling,
Exactly. And so, again, the misses are so small, right?
You
can be off just a little bit, and the thing, obviously it can create this kind of need.
Or you make something that ends up being a huge hit that you never expected,
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Kind of. What was the most exciting idea or speaker that you've encountered so far here at the show?
Oh, well, again, without tooting our own horn, B-Stock did speak with Target at NRF at the Rev show, which was awesome. And Target really shared a lot about kind of how forward-thinking they are about kind of all of this re-commerce effort. For me, I actually didn't know the details of how they were thinking about the business in the future.
I'm really bummed I missed that.
Oh, you missed a good one.
God. But was it you on stage?
No. I again, like I said, CEOs don't do anything so.
Except podcasts, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the competitive dynamics of California universities, but I was told that Berkeley and USC are like rivals, right?
Yes.
And you went to both of them at different points in your schooling. So is this correct that they're big rivals? Yeah?
They are big rivals. So yes, I did my undergrad at Cal and I went to grad school at USC, and I saw the question. I would never.
Wait, I got to say the question so everybody else knows because my question is, who do you root for then?
I always root for Cal.
Okay.
I have never rooted for USC.
You're going to piss a lot of people off, I think.
I'm willing to fight.
Okay. Okay, so why? Why Cal?
I think everyone roots for their undergrad first. That's where your formative years are, right? And so I am true California Golden Bear.
I think there is something that is just uniquely special about the undergrad experience that even if you go on to get a master's, PhD, any of that, it's not the same.
Yeah.
You're too serious by that point. You're obviously really into some intellectual pursuit. But in undergrad, you're still figuring it out. There's a moment of exploration that I think is really special.
I think I'm still trying to figure it out. So I don't know about that.
Me too. Yeah. Maybe I should go to postgrad. I don't know.
Right? Or undergrad.
If only I could afford it. Okay, last one. What are you most looking forward to in 2026? It could be professional, personal, anything. What are you excited about?
Oh, I think there's a lot of innovation that we're kind of bringing to the fore from a technology perspective at B-Stock. So I'm super excited about some of these, again, some product releases that are coming out here in coming months. I think that we as a company are really starting to see, like you talked about, just a ton of momentum around kind of these brands and retailers about embracing technology.
Yeah.
And so that is really, really exciting to see that come to life.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year for B-Stock. And be sure to share that so that we can share everything that you're up to with our readers. So stay tuned, guys. We'll have the news when B-Stock is ready to share it. And for now, thanks for being here today with us, Marcus.
It was great. Let's not let it be another 4 years.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. We're not going to go another 4 years. Okay.
Great.
Thanks. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Retail Remix. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or your favorite podcast app. Until next time, keep mixing it up.